So it's finally on after a long time of deliberation, purse bids, fights being on, fights being off, crossing the street. PBC's not going to fight fights from top rank ain't going to fight fights from PBC. After a long time of all of this, it's finally on. And in my one philosophy I've picked up in terms of boxing and MMA is I never get excited for a fight until it's only a couple of hours away. And even then I'm hesitant to be excited because fights can be cancelled. So like before a fight actually happens, if there's a couple of months before it actually happens, then I don't really get excited for it, because I'm like, you know what, this fight could easily get cancelled, this fight could easily not happen. It's just a little philosophy that I picked up, because the fight game is crazy. You never know what fight's going to happen. People can pull out, so there's no reason to get excited until something is 100% set in stone and both fighters are in the ring. But even then a fight can potentially be called off. I mean, remember when F.A. Jaguar was fighting that dude and the guy literally walked out the ring as soon as he was in it. So I never put myself in a position where I could get disappointed, because the only thing that could disappoint you is if you get your expectations too high. If you get your expectations too high, that's when you get disappointed. When you think there's a chance something might not happen, then you just get proven right and right again. And unfortunately in boxing, I've been proven more right than my disappointment expectations getting averted by things that I thought was gonna happen but never does. So yeah, I'm glad this fight is happening though. Finally we can see where Terrence Crawford is at in terms of the welterweight division. I mean, ideally we would want to see him fight Errol Spence soon, but I think this is a good foray to see where he's at. Say what you like about Shawn Porter, and a lot of people have a lot of opinions about him. Some people see him as an elite welterweight. I don't think he's elite. I think the elite welterweights, in my opinion, are the likes of Furman, Pacquiao when he beat Furman, Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford. I think Shawn Porter is just one level below that. So he's not too far away from them guys. He can give them a competitive fight, but he's not going one over them, if that makes sense. In my opinion though, there was a time where Kell Brook was an elite welterweight as well, but then obviously he fell off that ranking. There was a time when Keith Thurman was undeniably elite, but now after he's lost to Pacquiao, he's not done anything with his career, so he's fallen off that ranking. So the only two fighters that are left, in my opinion, that are really elite, to some extent, I felt like taking Errol Spence off the ranking because of his excessive partying and obviously the car crash. But then when he beat Danny Garcia, obviously that was his way up again. But then he was supposed to fight Pacquiao, but then that fight fell through. So he's still there, but I'll be honest, if he makes any more wrong decisions, then Errol Spence might come off that ranking. But the only person that's on it right now, I'm presuming is on it right now, is Terrence Crawford. The problem is with Terrence Crawford, if he doesn't perform against Shawn Porter, who's not an elite welterweight in my opinion, I think he's one level below that, then in my opinion, he if he loses to like a Shawn Porter, then I don't think he's elite. I still think he's world class. I think he's still a pound for pound type talent, but he's not going to be top 3 in my opinion, pound for pound. I think he's going to fall off that ranking. It sounds cruel, but at the same time, when you talk about elite welterweights, when you got the likes of obviously Usyk with everything he's accomplished, you got the likes of obviously Canelo and everything he's accomplished. Terrence Crawford has always been in that mix. He's always been seen as a top 3 pound for pound type fighter, but he needs to perform for that to be for him to be given that type of mantle. We got fighters like obviously look at everything that Canelo's doing, unifying divisions against fighters that are way bigger than he is height wise, and on top of that, like he's thinking about going up to cruiserweight and going up to that 5th weight class. I mean, it's incredible what he's doing. It's very incredible what he's doing. And the fact is, when you're competing with the likes of them pound for pound, the standards are a lot more higher. So I think the pressure is on Terrence Crawford right now. He needs to prove that he is the man at this point in time. And the only person that could do that is himself. There's no one else that can actually do that for him. And I think a good barometer for that test is definitely Shawn Porter. I think Shawn Porter is that dude because he's given all the elite welterweights an absolute run for their money. In my opinion, he beat Keith Thurman when they fought. Obviously, Keith Thurman got the decision, and it's contestable. But I think he won it by a point, in my opinion, on my scorecard. On top of that, obviously he did lose to Errol Spence, and the reason why I think he lost to Errol Spence, that fight was very competitive. But when Errol Spence knocked him down, I think that knockdown was what solidified it for me. I think that's what made Errol Spence just get ahead because of that knockdown that he put on him. On top of that, obviously the Kell Brook fight was very close. A lot of people thought he won that fight, but I think Kell Brook won that fight because I think his punches were a lot cleaner, in my opinion. And the Ugas fight, I think Ugas won that fight, but obviously they gave it to Porter. But looking at it now, after Ugas' win against Pacquiao, that doesn't seem like that bad of a loss now. So yeah, my point is this: Shawn Porter has given all the elite welterweights hell. He's given them an absolute run for their money. And the fact is, excuse me, the fact is, even if he's slightly past it, I think he's gonna give Terrence Crawford an absolute run for his money. I think he's gonna give him a good fight. And I think it's a great barometer to see where Terrence Crawford is at, pound for pound. Also, just to see if he is who a lot of people think he is. Terrence Crawford is in a bit of a precarious position when it comes to the pound for pound rankings. I mean, if you look at it, right, his last 11 opponents, he's obviously beaten them, but he's knocked out 10 of them. He stopped his last 10 opponents. I mean, that's incredible. On top of that, he's unified a division. On top of that, he's gone up to 3 different weight classes and 1 belts. So he's definitely on the elite of the pound for pound spectrum. But the fact is, he's not got that very high level win that could make him known to the mainstream audience. He's seen as a idol in Omaha, Nebraska. But in terms of the rest of the world, he's not seen as that huge crossover star. I feel like Usyk is a bigger star than Crawford is. Even though, ironically, Crawford is from the UK and Usyk is from the Ukraine. And even though he's from the Ukraine, he doesn't speak that much English yet. I feel like he's more charismatic than Crawford is. So he's in a precarious position. He's undeniably pound for pound top 3 in my opinion, but at the same time, there's no way he's as marketable as a young Errol Spence or a Canelo. Nowhere near as marketable as Canelo. He's nowhere near as marketable as Usyk. So his skills are undeniable, his talent is undeniable, but he needs the right fights for him to really jump off the page. And to be fair, when he's beating the likes of Khan, when he's beating the likes of Kell, it does give him a bit of a name. Okay, the only marketable thing about this guy is he might be the best welterweight on the planet. He might be. Obviously, he needs to beat Errol Spence to do that. But I think a good barometer for this fight to see where he stacks up is a fight against Shawn Porter, because he's given hell to everyone that he's absolutely fought. He's not an elite welterweight, but he's one level below that. He's won 2 titles himself in the weight class against the highest level of opposition in terms of the welterweight division. So yeah, he's an absolute animal. And I think he's gonna give Errol Spence a lot of hard rounds. Not Errol Spence, sorry. He's gonna give Terrence Crawford a lot of hard rounds. But I think Terrence Crawford is gonna win. I mean, he weighed below the limit when they fought in the weigh-in yesterday. And the reason why I think he did that was because it shows that even though the fact that he's weighing below, it shows that he's definitely a fighter that's how do I put it, like he's definitely come from a lower weight class and he's coming up. But it also shows like how dedicated he is, that he's still lean despite the fact that he's come from such a lower weight class. it shows the levels of dedication the guy has. So yeah, I think this is a very good fight for both opponents. They're both going in there against the best that they've got, right? And don't get it twisted. I think Shawn Porter is a little bit past his prime. He's not quite the fight he was when he fought Keith Thurman. He's not quite the fight he was when he fought Kell Brook. But I still think he's got enough left in his tank to give Crawford a very good run for his money. If Crawford could actually knock him out, I mean that would be tremendous. That would be like him really stamping his name and showing who he is as a fighter, as an elite welterweight, because no fighter's been able to do it. Errol Spence, his rival, Errol Spence dropped him, but he never knocked him out. So it'll be interesting to see what actually happens. It'll be interesting to see if he can do it. I think the fact that he stopped his last 10 opponents, that does say a lot about him. It does show what type of class of an opponent, of a fighter that he is. But yeah, that's just my opinion. I think Shawn Porter is going to give him a hell of a fight. Don't get it twisted. He's still a live dog in this fight. I mean, you'll be a fool to discount Shawn Porter after everything that he's done in his career. I mean, it's crazy to think about that. You cannot discount a fight like Shawn Porter, because Shawn Porter is one of them fighters. He always brings it. I mean, we saw how much trouble he gave Errol Spence. We saw how much trouble he gave Keith Thurman. We saw how much trouble he gave Kell Brook. He's an absolute animal. But at the same time, I don't think he's on the run of form that he was when he fought them guys. So I don't think he's quite as good as he once was. Which is nothing bad. It's just the way it usually is. But at the same time, I feel like I just feel like Crawford is just he's on his run at the moment. I mean, when you're knocking out 10 of your last 11 opponents, I mean, it shows like what type of fighter you are. I mean, it shows that you're on this elite level. And just looking at him in the weigh-in yesterday, he looked like he was in incredible shape. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this. I can't wait to see what actually happens. He's actually gonna win this fight, and I do want Crawford to win, because I do want to see the Errol Spence fight, and I don't want to hear no nonsense about crossing the street and PBC and all this garbage that happening. I mean, I don't understand that. What I want to see is the fight just happen. Crawford versus Errol Spence should fight before it's too late, before something stops the fight from happening. Like, there's been a car crash, there's been a retina injury. I mean, there's been all these issues that's happened to Errol Spence. I mean, it's not coming from Crawford's side, it's coming more from Spence's side. Him not wanting to quote unquote cross the street and fight Crawford. I mean, all of these reasons and excuses are not coming from Crawford. Crawford wants to fight. I feel like it's coming from Spence. So yeah, that's just my opinion. I just hope we see a good fight. I think there's a very good chance that Crawford doesn't stop him. I mean, he's going to go to 12 rounds. If it does, if he does a showcase performance, then it's still impressive. But I want to see Crawford go for stoppage. I want to see him try stopping Shawn Porter. Obviously, it's easier said than done because he's got a cast iron chin. But I do want to see him try to stop Shawn Porter, because if he can actually do it, then that really puts the welterweight and the boxing world in general in notice, because all eyes are on Crawford right now. So yeah, that's just my opinion, people. What's your opinion? Tell me what you think. Who do you think wins this fight? I'm going. I think Crawford's going to win via unanimous decision, but I think he's going to try to stop him to solidify his claim as the welterweight elite. But at the same time, I think there's a very good chance that Porter's going to fight out of his skin and give him a hell of a fight as well. So yeah, from that perspective, I just think there's clearly a lot going on, but there's a lot riding on all of this. But we'll see what happens. We'll definitely see what happens. I'm very much looking forward to it, and I think boxing fans in general are looking forward to it. This was a bit of a sleeper. Like it's almost like it's crept on us. Like, we're thinking about all these other fighters, like the likes of Canelo, the likes of obviously Anthony Joshua losing, but everyone's forgotten about Crawford. And I think that says a lot about Crawford. Like, you feel it when it's a Canelo fight week. You feel it when it's a Anthony Joshua fight week. You don't really feel it when it's a Crawford fight week. Even as a top 3 pound for pound top fighter, you don't feel it when he's about to have a fight. Obviously in Omaha, there's probably like, you feel it there, but generally speaking, I don't think you feel it compared to other fighters. So I just want Crawford to come off the page and become marketable, become that guy. But I just don't think it's his personality. I think he's a low-key guy who just wants to go about his business. He's not interested in all the promotional stuff that he needs to go through to become a superstar. I don't think he wants to be a superstar. I think he just wants to be a fighter who just does his thing, man. And to some extent, I respect that. But another level is that I do want him to get more recognition, and one way to do that is to become more famous. I mean, Mike Tyson is far from the greatest heavyweight of all time, but the reason why he's definitely one of the he's an all-time great, but he's nowhere near the greatest. Yet he's mentioned more than most great fighters are, and the reason for that is because he's so marketable. So a lot of your recognition in boxing is not based on how good you actually are. It's more based on how famous you are. I mean, it's a sad reality, but it's the truth. I mean, Larry Holmes should be mentioned way more than Mike Tyson is. Joe Louis should be mentioned a lot more than Mike Tyson is. But there's a reason why Mike Tyson is one of the most popular. It's because he's one of the most marketable. It's to do with personality and charisma and all of them other factors that you can't really measure. But that's the reason why Mike Tyson's seen as one of the greatest heavyweights of all time, even though he probably isn't. So yeah, that's just my opinion. Tell me your opinion below. What do you think Crawford is going to do when he fights Porter? What do you think he's going to fight? If he's going to give the best performance of his career, or do you think he's just not going to perform? Do you think Porter's going to fight out of his skin? Do you think Porter can pull off the upset? What do you think is going to happen? Do you think Crawford stops Porter? Do you think Crawford beats him via unanimous decision? Do you think Porter stops Crawford? I mean, imagine if that happens. That would be crazy. And yeah, just make your prediction below and like and subscribe to the channel. I've got a lot more content coming your way. Peace out.